KwaZulu-Natal police spokesperson Rapende Chunda says the suspects were allegedly involved in the execution-style killing of 5 people in Bonani Hill and the killing of another 3 people, as well as the robbery of a shop in the building they were found in.
Police followed information that the suspects were in hiding in Newlands East, and upon arrival, further intelligence was collected that suspects were at a rented holiday apartment on South Beach Avenue in the Point area of Durban. When police announced their presence at the apartment, the suspects opened fire and a shootout ensued. All 6 suspects were shot and fatally wounded during the shootout. No police officer sustained any injuries. It is also suspected that suspects were involved in the illicit drug trade. We do believe that there are rival groups that are fighting each other, that are also killing people who are innocent, maybe because they are robbing them or they want money from them, because if you refuse, they also do all sorts of things to you.
I'm Kalasa Kampense in Tep.
Right, we have about just over a minute and a half to go, so let's quickly squeeze in a few more of your voice notes.
After Saki, we will have no progress in this country because we've got many political parties, racism, tribalism. These parties are sowing divisions amongst us because they want to be at Lutuli House. So Lumapai, they must give him a job so that he can keep quiet. Vuiswa from Parktown, Butana from Rosebank, and Kabel from Durban. I think they can form a good party. They talk too much. Thank you, Sagisaki.
Good afternoon, Sis Sakina, and your team. Happy Heritage Month. Sis Sakina, I welcome the decision of Sanko Northwest and ANC Northwest to remove Tsepo Koza as a deputy legislator because of he make a fraud of qualification. He lied, said he's got a metric but doesn't have a metric. But it's not only Tsepo Koza who don't have metric in legislature. They are more than 9, Sis Sakina, those who don't have metric. But I see ANC doesn't want to act, even Sanko. They are more than 9 people who are appointed as members of legislature, but they don't have a metric. They are more than 9, Sis Sakina. Please, can you intervene? They must respect education. It's anonymous in Mashiki.
Sakina is disappointing. Schreiber was called, but he went there. Even though he's a new minister, but my number has been there for a long time. It doesn't go. Disrespectful ANC ministers. Very disappointing. No wonder why the public servants are doing what they like. And Namas from Soweto. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, for engaging us and for sending those messages, and to the production team. We'll do it again tomorrow. Take care, be safe. Here's Mudupi Mahalimele with your latest news at 1.
Very much, SK. The top stories at 1. Western Cape confirms bus crash victims' occupations, and former VW boss faces trial over Dieselgate. A very good afternoon. Authorities have confirmed that the people involved in a bus accident on the Van Reyns Pass outside Van Reynsdorp on the west coast are construction workers from Uppington in the Northern Cape. They were on their way to Ceres to build a solar plant when their bus rolled down the mountain slope. Western Cape Mobility Minister Isaac Sileku says that 10 people have been confirmed dead, while 12 others are being treated in hospital.
What we know is that the driver lost control of the bus, and unfortunately that's what it led, and then that's why we are standing here. But in terms of the broader and more detail in terms of what has led for the driver to lose control, we don't have those specifics. Probably when the investigation has been concluded, and then it will be able to give us the more details as to why the driver lost control of the bus.
Analysts say that the latest GDP number sets a positive tone for the overall economic performance of the country this year. This after data released by Stats SA shows that the country's economy grew by 0.4% in the second quarter from a revised 0% in the first. 7 of 10 industries recorded positive growth, while the transport, storage and communication industries contributed negatively. Chief Economist at Investec, Annabelle Bishop, elaborates.
The transport industry was the main negative contributor, decreasing by 2.2%, contributing 0.2% of a percentage point downward pull on this overall 0.4% outcome. Really, the finance industry, trade industry, and manufacturing sectors were the strong performers. If we look at South Africa's upcoming CPI inflation print, that's expected to be close to 4.5%. So all in all, the data would not give the Reserve Bank any undue cause to reconsider an interest rate cut in September. And the upcoming good CPI inflation figure, South Africa looks on a firm footing for a better year.
Police are investigating the possibility that some of the killings that the 6 suspects who died in a shootout with the police in Durban were involved in may be connected to rivalries between gangs. The suspects opened fire on the police when they arrived at the holiday accommodation that the gang was staying in near the Durban beachfront. They were suspected of murdering at least 2 groups of people in the Durban metro since Friday, as well as a business robbery. Police spokesperson Robert Netsunda says the suspects were allegedly also extorting money from people.
We believe that there are rival gangs that are also fighting each other. Because in the incident in Hammersdale, we led to believe that the people who were killed are also part of another group that extort money from businesses. So it could be that they are fighting for the theft, drugs as well.
The Gauteng Health Department will from today lead a campaign to educate the public about food safety issues. This after 10 children died of suspected food poisoning in the province since February this year. The department has witnessed an increase in such cases, particularly in townships, informal settlements and hostels. Department spokesperson Motalatale Mudiba.
Various outbreak response teams are intensifying food safety, health education, and will be conducting awareness bleeds in Tshwane and Ekurhuleni throughout the week. This is part of the continuous efforts to reduce the risk of food poisoning by promoting safe food handling behavior, promoting the keeping of clean environments, and warning the public about the long-term effects of illegal dumping, tackling compliance issues by shop owners selling perishable and non-perishable food items.
And the former chief executive of Volkswagen, Martin Winterkorn, is set to go on trial today for his role in the emissions scandal. He faces charges of commercial fraud and could be jailed for 10 years. More from the BBC's Mariko Oy.
The 76-year-old former boss resigned from Volkswagen days after the US regulators announced a notice of violation in 2015. It said Europe's top car maker had been using software that allowed cars to emit far more than the legal limit of nitrogen oxide, a pollutant that harms people's health. In the market manipulation case, Martin Winterkorn is accused of knowing about this and deliberately failing to inform stock markets in good time of a significant financial risk. He's denied any wrongdoing.
The top story at 1 o'clock, authorities have confirmed that the people involved in a bus accident on the Van Rhyns Pass outside Van Heinsdorp on the west coast are construction workers from Uppington in the Northern Cape. Time now for the full circle for SAFM News. Mudupi Makhalemele.
Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. Simply SMS CAR to 43187 now.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
How can I live without you? What would I do if you left me? I can't even think of a second. you're not here. What we have is sent from above. It's not natural that you're not here. It feels so cold in my bed that you're not here now. When I said I loved you, baby, I did. Will you please come back to me? Oh, 'cause I'm lost without you. Wherever you are, I hope you hear me. Baby, I'm lost without you. Since the day that you left me, all of my days have been empty. I've tried and tried to move on, but you're engraved in me. Our favorite song plays on the radio, and I think of you, baby, but you're not here now. When I said will you please come back to me? 'Cause I'm lost without you. Oh, I hope you hear me. Lost without you. Oh, I belong to you forever. I just wanna be with you. Can't you hear me crying now? Baby, you're a part of me. You're my everything. I just wanna be with you. Can't you hear me crying now? Baby, you're a part of me. You're my
It is Brian Temba coming through with Lost Without You. That is how we kick off the show this afternoon. It's just gone 10 past 1 o'clock on The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM, leading the conversation. And we've got lots by conversation today. We are getting into a conversation with Professor Jonathan Chimakunam, who is from the Department of Philosophy at the University of Pretoria. And we're looking at who named Africa and what does the name actually mean. We're also going to be reflecting on 30 years of democracy through the evolution of the music scene. We're going to catch up with the folks from the Amapiano Festival around that. Stages, pages, screens, and more is also coming up today. The National Children's Theatre and Disney are bringing you The Lion King Jr. We'll find out more about that. On the other side of two, we take a health and wellness skew. The seasons are changing and some of us are suffering dearly. And so we look at the seasonal change conditions and how do we go about managing those with Western medicine and more homeopathic medicines, as well as perhaps some old school indigenous methods and medications that have worked for you and your family. You are more than welcome to share with us. I'll tell you what else is coming up on the other side of two, closer to the time. But yeah, we do have a jam-packed show today, and we invite you to be a part of all of our conversations, as we always do. And that number is 086 000 2032 or 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. Let's take a quick pause.
Think bigger than just a banking partner. Think a team of specialized experts supporting you to make better financial decisions to enable your growth aspirations. Think a strategic partnership providing indispensable advice to help you make the right moves. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Only the final whistle can reveal who are the real football kings of East Africa. Neighbors won't get along during the East African Derby. This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Tanzania takes on Ethiopia on Wednesday, 4 September at 6 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Play Powerball for an estimated 78 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 22 million rand this Tuesday. That's right, it's 100 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots that are waiting to be won. And you can buy your tickets now in store or on the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years and older, and remember to play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, and we begin our conversation now chatting to Professor Jonathan Chimakunam, who is from the Department of Philosophy at the University of Pretoria, and he's a specialist in African philosophy, race, and decoloniality studies. And we're talking around a piece that he wrote, an article in the conversation based, of course, on his work and research. And he asked the question, who named Africa and what does the name mean? And is Africa, in inverted commas, a racial slur, and should the continent be renamed? Good afternoon to you, Prof. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Cannot complain. Prof, before we continue our conversation, I just wonder, but let's hear what it sounds like with our sort of first question, and then if there's a need to change the line, we will do so before we get any further. This is part and parcel of the work that you do, but I wonder why hone in specifically on the naming of Africa? What conversations sort of preempted or preceded this research work and ultimately the article featured in the conversation?
Okay, thank you very much. The article that gave birth to the interview in the conversation was actually inspired by another research, that was published in 2019, and that was a research on racism. The idea of the politics of color branding, which I floated in that very article. So in that research, I tried to look at the last remaining relics of racism, that continues to affect Africans world over today. And it was in the course of that research that we ran into a number of other ideas that made us really think of revisiting some of these concepts, including the name Africa. That was how the inspiration came.
And I guess the big question also is who named Africa and what does the name mean? I'll admit I've never hit a Google search to find out what does Africa mean.
Fantastic. Fantastic. As a matter of fact, if you make out time to do a Google search, you will run into quite a lot of etymology, purportedly, okay, for this name Africa. But some of them are from the continent, others from outside the continent. And some of them that are from the continent, have some problems because they were really speculations and proposals tossed out there by Afrocentric scholars. And the biggest problem that Afrocentrism has is that it tries to make its point at all costs, thereby, shedding away some level of credibility. So in the course of this research, I and my co-author really considered quite many etymologies, root words for this name Africa, and try to place them in hierarchy, analyze them properly, and came to a conclusion that one that traces its root to the ancient Greece, and which reemerged in ancient Rome, that very one has no credibility, and that is why we based the main part of our analysis on that one. And I am talking about the Greek word apherica, okay, meaning without gold. And after Greek civilization, declined, we have the Roman civilization, and then you see that word Latinized to Africa, meaning sunny. So you can see the correlates there, and this is not strange because both ancient Greece and ancient Rome have very many connections and contacts with Africa, especially the northern part, and which was why the literature amply demonstrated that at that initial time, both the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans used that name to refer to the northern part of the continent largely. It was not until, when the Europeans again made another incursion into the continent in the 15th centuries, and during their explorations, slavery, colonialism, that name eventually became extended to the rest of the continent. And but then there are incidences as we go on, I'll be able to analyze and show the connection and why that very innocuous name that refers to climate could well, in today's terminology, be a racial slur.
Now, and that was the sort of other question, right? Because you do make the argument that the name in itself, the name Africa, is a racial slur. Let's expand on that. I mean, a little bit some more, because a lot of people have often said, surely there was an indigenous name for the continent before, or maybe even a variety of names, indigenous names for the continent prior to it being named Africa, depending on where you were. If you were, up at the top in the most northern tips, probably there was a name for the continent there. Likewise, in the most southern tip as well.
Okay, fantastic. By the time the name Africa was extended to the rest of the continent, when the idea of continental division of the globe became a thing, there wasn't really such a name for the entire continent. Like I said, it was initially used to refer to the northern part. But to dive in deep into the racial connections of this name, you recall ancient Greece, ancient Rome, Africa, without cold, sunny. These are referring to the harsh climate, although a bit exaggerated because we still experience cold in Africa. Then, but again, there's also historical records that show that, at least from the Homeric times, the ancient Greeks, when they encountered the dark-skinned people from the continent, mainly from East Africa, they referred to them as Athiops. All right, that's the Greek word that means sun-burnt face. Okay, so they look at these people and say, these people, the sun burns their faces. So you see, they've got this mindset that that continent, that part of the world, is where the sun places so much sun in that part of the world. That is, you can see the connection. Now, this begins to turn and wear a new garb of racialism if we move down to 16th century AD and 15th century AD, 1490 to be precise, when King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella in Spain enacted and implemented the policy of limpieza de sangre. okay, which is Spanish for one drop blood rule, all right? They used it to drive away the Moors. The Moors are dark-skinned people who had occupied and ruled the Iberian Peninsula in Spain since 721 AD. They used it to drive all of them away in a serious historical event of racism. And that was when the word, the N-word that you know, used to racialize and Africans all over the world emerged in Spanish, translated into English to what? Black, okay? Which is a racial slur, an idea that we projected in a research I told you we published in 2019. Now, global racialism outlawed the N-word, all right? And globally, enlightened nations and enlightened people know that color categorization was the bastion of scientific racism that European intellectuals carried out in European universities in the 18th and 19th century. Okay? This was when people campaigned against slavery on the ground that everyone, these people are also human beings and you cannot enslave human beings. And they were compelled and sponsored by wealthy people in Europe that time to produce a scientific doctrine to defend the racialization and subjugation of Africans. That is the birth of scientific racism, all right? And the headquarters of that was the Göttingen University in Germany.
Yeah.
All right, so it was there, briefly before I wrap up this question, it was there that these scholars like Blumenberg, like Carolus Linnaeus, like Masinga, and the rest of them came up with the idea of color categorization of humanity. Okay? And then they said that the color white will now be used to represent Europeans. Okay? It represents spotless, clean, and what have you, purity. And then that the other races are degeneration. The skin color of other races show that they are degenerations from the color of the European. And so if they use white to represent the European, then they could use other colors, brown for some people in Asia, red for indigenous people in America, yellow for Chinese and the rest of them. And at the extreme point of this generation, they place black. Okay? And they try to use this, some of them try to use it to characterize attitudes and humanity of these people, as to demonstrate that these people are not human enough. Today so let me stop here and perhaps listen to take you another question.
Yeah, I mean a fascinating history that you plot for us there, and then I wonder, Prof, does the continued usage of the continental name Africa, does that still in present day still play a very significant role perhaps in perpetuating these racial hierarchies and discriminations, and if so, what should then the conversation be, considering the fact that we are now hundreds of generations into the usage of this particular name?
Yes, thank you very much. It's never too late to right a wrong. All right? It's never too late to do that. Let me put it this way. Despite the laws and policies enacted against racism in countries, in workplaces and what have you, people still suffer from racial subjugation. And those who experience this know how it hurts. It affects their identity, it affects their self-concept, it affects their performance, it affects everything about them, their humanity. And what is at the root of this? Like I said, this is a different research that I've done in the heart of racism itself, is color categorization of the scientific racism era. Today, people who do not know the symbolic meanings of these colors and the philosophical underpinnings of these theories that inform this use these colors, uncritically. I tell you what, in South Africa, for example, when you are, whether in government or public institutions, and then you are asked to identify your race, you see the boxes there.
Yeah.
You will see African, you won't see black. Okay? You will see Indian, you won't see brown. You will see everything you see there. Then you see white. Then you see colored. All right? People accept this uncritically, not knowing the philosophical foundation of these ideas. And it doesn't excuse it. It is the foundation of racism. If, for example, someone says, okay, I identify as white, I don't call you black, I don't call you yellow, I don't call you this. So what's the problem about that? If someone identifies as white, that person is again reenacting the philosophical and scientific philosophical basis of that spurious idea. All right? In identifying as white, that person is drawing a line between those who are white and those who are non-white. So that's again indirect racism based on color branding, okay, which is very terrible. And when people identify as black and they do carry that badge with honor, they do so uncritically because they don't understand the meaning. And most of them diluted into Africa here through Steve Biko's idea of Black Power movement, okay, which he borrowed from the civil rights activists in America, Stokely Carmichael and the rest of them, who came up with the idea of valorization of that color. Because back in the day in America, it is used as a slur, the N word, the P word, as law to denigrate these people. And because the law supports those who use it to denigrate them, there was nothing they could do. So they decided to valorize it by embracing it to shame those who are using it against them. All right? But now things have changed. We've got wonderful constitutions outlawing these things. Why continue to hang on to valorization strategy? It's outdated. These things are insulting. They're racially denigrating. You can't call people by color. It's racial denigration. If we understand the roots, where it started and how it started, and the purpose for which these things are made. And this connects with the name Africa, because some burnt faces, harsh sun without cool, sunny, some burnt faces. When sun charts something, it becomes dark, it becomes black. All right? So we again find ourselves in the color categorization strategy that was used to deepen and continues to worsen the state of racism in our world today.
Yeah, Prof, I wish I had more time with you, but I think in responding to, our continued use of the word Africa now, you've also in just responded to what would have been my next question around the potential benefits of adopting a new name for the continent and what that would mean for our continental, the continent's historical and cultural significance. But maybe one day, somewhere in the future, we'll pick up this conversation from a different perspective. For today, we have to leave it there, and we thank you so much for the time. That was Professor Jonathan Chimakunam, who is with the Department of Philosophy at the University of Pretoria, and of course he specializes in African philosophies, race and decoloniality studies. It's 1:30. Mudupi is standing by with the headline news.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is well positioned to be a leader in green energy and related industries. Authorities have confirmed that the people involved in a bus accident on the Van Rhyns Pass outside Van Rhynsdorp on the west coast are construction workers from Uppington in the Northern Cape. And police are searching for 4 suspects in connection with the hijack and abduction of Gauteng member of the provincial legislature Muiponi Mhlongo in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni. And those are your headlines. A full news update coming up 2:00.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, let's get into a different kind of conversation. For the better part of this year, if not the entire year, we've been reflecting on 30 years of democracy from different angles and different conversations that we've engaged in, from the political all the way through to the other side of the pendulum with arts and culture lenses, reflecting on these 30 years of significance for the country. And we thought, well, here's another conversation that we should have is, looking at the evolution of the music scene and South African music in particular over the last 30 years ahead of the Road to Amapiano festival. And we're in conversation now with Michael Bolkand, who is the organizer of the Road to Amapiano festival. It's set to take place at the Constitution Hill, and it's happening on the 7th of September. So this coming weekend, in partnership with the Arts and with the Arts and Culture Trust, rather, as well as Soda World, who are presenting the Afrotech Road to Amapiano. How are you doing, Michael? You good?
Oh, we're still trying to get a hold of Michael. All right, we're still trying to get a hold of Michael from our end, but hopefully he'll jump on the line at some point. Still to come on the show, on the other side of 2 o'clock, we are going to be taking a health and wellness skew, and we're looking at the seasonal change conditions and how do we manage all of them. I've been struggling for the last couple of weeks. And I cannot wait for the rain to come through and just give me some form of relief. So if you struggle with hay fever and sinuses and all kinds of things that maybe you can't even name when the seasons change, that conversation is definitely for you. And if you want to get in your questions for the doctor, because the doctor is going to be in the house for that, you can do so right now on 0614104107. That's our WhatsApp line. Perhaps there's things that you've tried for your sinuses that have not worked for you, or if you've noticed some kind of symptom change in severity, etc., and you're just wondering what that might speak to, or maybe you even have some tips for people like myself on some homegrown remedies that seem to have worked for you and your family over the years. We always invite you to share, and who knows, we might even be brave enough to experiment with all these things in the privacy of our homes. So 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line, or 086 000 2032. I get the sense that we'll probably just rework the conversation schedule offline in just a matter of seconds, and then we're going to take a breather here. We'll come back on the other side, and you and I will be clued in as to what's coming up next.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Like a new broom has swept clean the Honourable Minister, Mr. Gayton McKenzie, Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture. It's wonderful to have you on the show. Did you have, when you had that post, when you had a chance to digest that, did you have a bucket list of things that you wanted to do? And was this getting the public to watch national sports or sports of great interest high up on your bucket list from the word go?
This was number one. I looked at it, I said, there's two things I want to achieve for what happened here. Second one was to make sure that when there's events, sports people go, athletes go, not a bunch of officials. Even in my department, it was the Olympics. People, I saw a long list of names. I said, are you running? Do you have a horse? Are you swimming? No, Minister. I said, so stay behind. And I went for a few days for the meetings. Yes. I wasn't at the Olympics. Right. This is not a tourist ministry.
Top Sport on SAFM. Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, I did say we're going to jig the clock a little bit, and we're going to catch up with the curator of Poetry Africa Festival, Spindile Hlongwa now, and we're looking at the 28th Poetry Africa Festival, which is on the horizon, and it's going to take place from the 3rd until the 15th of October 2024. How are you doing this afternoon, Spindile?
Good afternoon. I'm good.
Fabulous.
Greetings from the sunny Durban.
Oh, listen.
Hope you're good.
We are good. We are good. How is the weather down in my home city?
It's warm.
Love it. We love it when Durban. We love it when Durban delivers on being Durban. It's always good.
Yes.
Let's look at. So you're hosting the much anticipated 28th Poetry Africa Festival. It's coming up in October. But before we get there, maybe let's reflect on the journey to 28. And considering the fact that, every conversation that I have with poets and writers or people who work within the poetry space, it always seems as though poetry is the long forgotten cousin of the arts and culture, often neglected and never shown much love, really.
That's very true, what you just said. Sounds like a stepchild of South African arts sector. And I think the poets, the South African poets have been really pushing boundaries, trying to gain space for themselves, create work, holding space for each other. And that's what the Poetry Africa over the years has been playing that role actively of holding space for poets to come to a platform that is non-censored, to actually voice themselves. And we've seen quite a lot of poets coming through and actually sharing their work, and some of them, they've been on this platform which is like launched their careers internationally. Poetry Africa has been facilitating a lot of exchange programs to different countries, and it's all about that, holding the ground, ensuring that we are not forgotten. in history as the poetry sector.
I mean, the 2024 theme amply speaks to exactly that. Poetry, somehow we survive, and it's inspired by a poem of the same name. Tell us a bit more about taking this direction thematically and the significance of it.
Yes, the theme for this year is taken from a poem written by Dennis Brutus, who was survived being shot by the apartheid police, also imprisoned alongside Nelson Mandela, Robben Island, and was in exile. This poet actually wrote the poem Somehow We Survive, and I thought it's a true reflection of the poetry space in South Africa, that through everything, the spirit of resilience of Dennis Brutus, it's been experienced by poets. They writing work, they protesting, they are applauding the good, and they also bringing out the bad that we've experienced in South Africa. But through it all, we are less funded, less recognized, but the work speaks volumes that has been produced over the years. And I think it was befitting for the festival to actually reflect on the work of Dennis Brutus. Dennis Brutus has always been on our platform. While he was still alive, he's been on our Poetry Africa platform. He shared his work, so it's about time that we actually go back and just draw inspiration from his work and celebrate the resilient spirit that he had, and also of the surviving poets that we still have in South Africa, and also poets that are also in the diaspora. I think it's really important for us to actually go back and look at our legends and just draw inspiration from the work that they produced.
And that's the thing, right? Because whether we're looking at South Africa, the old school as well as the new school, are we looking at the continent? Poetry has really enjoyed the legacy of producing some of the very best the world has ever seen. And yet for some reason, even with that kind of rich heritage that it has, and that proximity to greatness, it still seems as though poetry needs an advocate and it lacks an ally.
True. I think it goes back to my opening statement in terms of how, as a festival, we are holding this space and advocating for South African poets. But there is quite a lot. We're seeing also poets really pushing through. They're no longer reliant on just being behind the mic and presenting their poetry. You'd see that on the program there. We also see poets venturing into poetry, just like how Sipogazi has done it with her first film, hashtag We're Dying Here. That has broken barriers, actually creating a poetry film that actually goes to different film festivals around the world and win awards, and also the South African Summer. So I think it's important for poets as well to actually look at their work as a business, and that's what we are doing on the Saturday of the 12th of October at Poetry Africa. There's a lot of master classes on branding and marketing. There's a class on art administration. There's a master class on publishing and monetizing of digital spaces as well, because we're seeing quite a lot of poets who are just transforming the space, using the poetry to access, to present it in the theatrical form, to present it as a film or any of this, or publish it on a digital space. But then, how do you monetize that space for your benefits? So it's an intensive day on the 12th of October, which is just strictly focused on the business side of things. And as part of that, we've invited, I think, seven festival directors or curators that are going to be present in Durban on the 12th, and we are having a perfect pitch session. So we are actually releasing the call out for that this afternoon for poets to actually apply to be part of the perfect pitch. They actually invited come in and pitch their work to these festival directors. But there are limited spaces as well. It's like 20 slots that we have. So it's going to be a tough one, but I think it's going to be an exciting one for poets to actually start and be out of their shell and be able to pitch their project for possible curation in another festival around the world.
Yeah.
So it's another focus that we have this year besides the poetry film, which is a new element that we've added on the festival as well.
I mean,
but it's just pushing the poets to actually look at their work as a business.
Yeah.
Treat themselves as business.
And that's so vital, Spindile. And I would have wanted to even explore, the influence of younger poets, younger in age and not experienced, the likes of Kollega Putuma and everything that she's managed to accomplish with Collective Amnesia that speaks to the business of poetry and poetry, sort of transcending the spaces where it traditionally lies and getting into the academic. Those anthologies now becoming a very necessary part of modern South African scholastic history, and that does something to that does something to the discipline of the art. But they tell me we have to wrap it here today as we cast our mirror on a different kind of art form in a matter of 2 seconds. But thank you so much for running us through just the important elements of the festival that's happening between the 3rd and the 15th of October 2024, and it is under the theme Poetry Somehow We Survive, which is inspired by the poem of the same name by acclaimed South African poet, activist and educator Dennis Brutus. So if you find yourself within the vicinity and the precinct, then it's definitely something for you to come through and enjoy what is in store this year for the 28th Poetry Africa Festival. Let's take a quick break here and then we come back.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
There are days when they make me work hard for my money. All the ladies that run my life on this show. This is one of those days, but it's always enjoyable nonetheless. Michael Balkind joining us now, who's the Road to Amapiano Festival organizer, and it's powered by the Arts and Culture Trust, and reflecting back on 30 years of democracy through the evolution, of course, of music. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm good. How are you keeping?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Let's maybe have a quick reflection on, the significance of South African music over the last 30 years, because it's very much been a strong part of our historical legacy.
I'll say hands down probably the most important part. When you look back, you can't say it's gold. You can't say it's necessarily politics. I mean, you can say a little bit of that. But if you look even before the end of apartheid, and you look at, for example, Paul Simon, Graceland, and how that took over the world, that was all South African musicians. We've had an enormous influence. Besides that, even with struggle, obviously dance and music was a major part of it. But post-apartheid, it's just incredible how where we've got to now with Amapiano taking over the world's airways. And looking back from the 90s, from those early days, I've been around for quite a while, and just remembering like the sounds of Kwaito coming out, and then house music coming in from the States and Europe, and then how that became us, how that led to Black Coffee, how that led to Jerusalem taking over the world, and then since then, Tyler and piano sounds are really dominant.
Yeah, and of course this sort of role that music plays in who we are, is it often dictated by exactly what is happening within the environment? Or maybe at one point that used to be the case. When I think of Paul Simon, when I think of the likes of Brenda Fassie, a lot of their music reflected the state of politics at the time. But then when I think of music in more recent years, well, I guess to some degree, right? It kind of also still reflects the state of things at the time. It's just things have changed drastically.
Yeah, they definitely have. I think, like, if you look back in the U.S., in the early jazz days, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, you think of that, how segregated the world was and what an influence that music had from, those dark days of post-slavery America. I think post-apartheid South Africa has very similar ingredients. And we're at that point now where how the society has grown and where it's at, you're definitely sensing like this mishmash of sounds and a reflection of this new society that's developing here that is prominent in the arts and cultures, and I think more than most places in the world. And somehow when you think of food and you think of Italy and the importance of food and how the country's identity is tied to food, in some level South Africa, it's the size of population we have versus our influence on music and culture and dance, it's huge.
Absolutely.
Especially when you consider the low facilities we have here.
Absolutely.
So definitely agree.
The impact of Amapiano, though, we never saw that coming.
Not at all. And I'm actually listening to it in the background while we're speaking. It's a phenomenal sound that is hard to explain. And it kind of encompasses everything that's come before.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it had this groundswell that for the longest time it was just the preserve of those who happened to be living in Pretoria and the most northern parts of Gauteng, and now it's got global dominance like South African music has never had before. What does that speak to?
What does it speak to is this absolute resilience. Besides it just being in our DNA, as I was saying earlier, to make it in South Africa is really freaking difficult.
Yeah.
And all the odds are against you. So I feel like it reflects the resilience of this country. You know, so many of the people into the Springboks as a source of inspiration. And it's kind of like the music for me is what's been the biggest winner here, hands down.
Yeah. Let's touch base quickly on the festival. So the Road to Amapiano Festival is happening this coming weekend. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's just incredible how this project has progressed. Initially started off to celebrate the Arts and Culture Trust 30th year celebration. And at that point, we've been working on technology to connect physical audiences to virtual. So it's what we call a hybrid event. And then, it's part of the Road to Amapiano has been a narrative we've been developing for a while as an inspiration. So the event is from when the stage opens, the main stage is opening at 1. The event itself opens at 10. But from there, we're starting as director Jeff Shabalala. We've got an incredible team of directors, writers, and performers who are then going to walk with the different artists, be it Oskido, Boom Shaka, Moonchild. We have an incredible lineup, Tebe. They're going to walk through all the different areas of South Africa on the stage. So even though it's like a dance party, there's DJs, there's musicians, it's all about having fun. It's also narrated in a way that brings the story to life on the stage. And furthermore, is for your listeners who don't know about Sawubona Music Jam, it's an incredible part of Soweto's history, a live music venue. In Shawela in Soweto, there's going to be a live music stage of musicians from Soweto in the market area. And then there's also going to be a secret dance floor to spice things up a little bit.
Wonderful.
And then it's also open for everybody. So there's a kids area, there's a food area, there's a market area. And also people who can't make it to Joburg can watch it online in a special platform that we've built for this event.
Wonderful. Michael Wolkind, we have to leave it there for today. That festival is happening on the 7th of September, this coming weekend, the Road to Amapiano, and it's being hosted at Constitution Hill. And as you heard, if you can't make it because it is a hybrid event, it's live at the venue, but also you can catch the virtual reality of the show, and we'll tweet out those details. It's just gone 10 to 2 o'clock. It's time for us to pause here for Kids Corner.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's Elimination Week and the bottom 6 must bake their ultimate cookie and milkshake pairing. It's a match made in heaven, but will they perfect their flavor combinations under pressure? Take part in the weekly viewers competition and stand a chance of winning a classic stand mixer to the value of 10,000 Rand. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Play Powerball for an estimated 78 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 22 million this Tuesday. That's right, it's 100 million in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots that are waiting to be won. Buy your tickets now in store or at thenationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, the cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello, my name is Jonathan. I'm in grade 6. If I was to have a job, I would choose to be a leader because it pays a lot of money and it helps direct the country I'm in into a good development in the future. What I'm doing right now that's shaping me to become a leader is history. History really helps us learn our lessons from the past leaders and what to do in certain situations. I admire Nelson Mandela because he fought for our human rights. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michaela Lambonia. I attend Rosebank Primary School. I'm in grade 6 and I'm 12 years old. If I could have any job in the world, I would like to be a doctor because I feel like that's what I'm very passionate about. What I'm doing now that's shaping me to become a doctor is I listen to what my aunt says. She's a doctor too, so I get most of the things from her, and I think that's why I want to be a doctor because she definitely inspired me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Josi Mobani. I'm in Rosebank Primary School. I'm 12 years old. I'm in grade 6 AC. If I could have any job in the world, I'll be a football player because I'm really good at sports. What I am doing now to help me become the best soccer player in the world is I go to sports academies, and I also train myself every day. I admire Cristiano Ronaldo. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lisedi Tire and I am 11 years old and I go to Rosebank Primary School. So if I could have any job in the world, it would be to be a software developer. I would like to be a software developer, as software developers create the software for mobile devices and laptops, which will help people in the later future and touchscreen stuff. I like doing it because I am a fan of computers and technology stuff, so yeah. Something that I'm doing now is focusing on my maths, science, and everything that will help me in technology and all my subjects. So also to prepare myself so when I get to high school and I select my subjects, I can select the best subjects for me, which will help me advance in being the best software developer. The person that I admire most is my mom. She's not exactly a software developer, but she has skills in laptop stuff, so which will help me later on, which is why I admire her. The qualities that are going to be needed from me to be the best software developer are patience. As being a software developer, you need to take days or weeks to make the coding and the codes for every single type of software system for the software update and stuff. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Simba Mtombeni and I'm in grade 6 and I'm 12 years old. If I could do any job in the world, I'd actually be a race car driver because I love cars and I love managing with cars. I love cars because they help me get relaxed and when I drive in a car, I always feel invested in them. What I'm doing now that can help me become the best race car driver in the world is to watch race car drivers and to look at my dad drive so that I can be in the future I can be the best race car driver in the world. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hloni Pizzo. I'm in grade 6 CV and I go to school at Rosebank Primary School. If I could have any job in the world, it would be a soccer player because I really love soccer and skills, and watching soccer very much is my favorite thing to do. Right now, the things that I'm doing to help me become the best soccer player in the world is watching the skills that I have to learn and making sure that when I'm on the pitch, I don't get scared and I play a lot of soccer.
Hi, my name is Oro Okame Gwenaite, and I am 11 years old, and I am a learner at Rosebank Primary School. The job that I would, a big job that I would do in the world is playing soccer, so being a soccer player. I would love being a soccer player when I grow up, so I can get money and I can win trophies. What I'm doing right now is playing soccer at school and learning more skills at home by watching TV, and my father helps me train every single day. I admire my father because he wanted to be one of the best soccer players, but then according to an injury, he couldn't. So that's why I admire my father, because he teaches me one of his skills every single day, and I learn them, and I like his skills. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zukanye Njotini, and I'm in grade 5. I'm 11 years old, and I'm in Rosebank Primary School. I would rather be an artist. The reason why I want to be an artist because it helps me think things through when I'm stressed and worried and angry and mad and sad. What I'm doing now is that I've been drawing pictures ever since I started grade 3. I don't actually admire anyone because I don't actually see other people just drawing and doing stuff. I just want to admire myself. The qualities I would need in order for me to be the best artist in the world is patience, creativity, hard work, and dedication. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Khulachanan Tlapo. I am 10 years old and I am a learner at Rosebank Primary School. I want to be a scientist when I grow up because I would experiment with things big or small to see how long their lifespan would take for them to go extinct. What I am doing now to become the best scientist in the world is to focus on my studies, make sure that I always have confidence, I believe in myself, and to always try something new in science. I admire Albert Einstein. Hello, my name is Nathaniel Elimbonia. If I could do any job in the world, big or small, I would be a scientist. I would be a scientist because I know lots of science and I think science is very interesting. I admire Albert Einstein because he was the first person to discover that it takes 8 minutes for light to travel to the sun. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ruhinkuna. I am 10 years old. I would like to become an astronaut. I would like to become an astronaut because I would like to try to discover new galaxies and new planets and to travel the world. What I'm doing now is to focus on history and to read books, and that will help me to become the best astronaut in the world. I admire Neil Armstrong because he was the first person to walk on the moon.
Hello, I'm Tabiso Chuma, and I'm from Rosebank Primary School. I will be a businessman because I want to make enough money to spoil my mom and my family. What I'm doing now that's gonna help me become the best businessman in the world is focus on school and do not trust anyone because they might put your business into trouble. I admire no one. Thank you.
Hello friends and happy Tuesday. Today we're diving into the exciting world of career choices and setting goals. When you're young, you often hear adults ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" This question can spark excitement, but it can also feel overwhelming with so many options available. It's important to explore various professions to discover what truly interests you. Getting to know your career options means understanding what different jobs entail. For instance, if you have a passion for animals, you might find joy in becoming a veterinarian or a zookeeper. You don't need to make a decision immediately, but exploring different careers can be an enjoyable journey that helps you envision your future. As you start to consider what job might appeal to you, the next step is to set some goals. A goal could involve completing your education or acquiring a specific skill. Setting goals keeps you focused and provides direction, much like a map guiding you to your destination. Your career aspirations begins with small actions you can take today. Every little effort you make now can pave the way for your future. And remember, it's perfectly fine if your goals evolve as you grow and learn more about yourself. Thinking about your future career can feel thrilling and somewhat adventurous. By exploring your choices, establishing your goals, and taking actionable steps towards them, you can begin to mold your future starting from your current position. There's no such thing as starting too early when it comes to envisioning your aspirations. And the great news is that you have enough time to discover and make your decisions.
Apologies for the late start into the news, and just a reminder, Essential Cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. Simply SMS CAR to 43187 now.
The top story is that two former PRASA boss sentenced for fraud and a manhunt for the hijackers of a Gauteng politician. A very good afternoon. Former PRASA head of engineering Daniel Mtimkulu, who was convicted for fraud for faking his qualifications, has been sentenced to an effective 15 years behind bars. The Hawks say as a result of the misrepresentation and fabricated CV, PRASA suffered prejudice in that his annual salary was hiked from 1.6 million rand to 2.8 million. Monique Lewis reports.
Timkulu was charged with 9 counts, including fraud and forgery, by allegedly misrepresenting his qualifications to PRASA. He claimed, among others, to have acquired a master's degree from Wits University, as well as a doctorate in engineering management from the Munich Technical University in Germany. In March this year, the Johannesburg High Court attached both his movable and immovable properties and ordered that Timkulu pay 5.8 million rand back to PRASA. Monique Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Ballistics expert Colonel Chris Mangena has reiterated that the markings on the test bullets he fired align with those found from the bullet at the scene where Senzo Meyiwa was killed. Mangena is under cross-examination at the High Court in Pretoria, where 5 men are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. Mangena insists that the crime scene bullet was fired from a firearm seized from one of the accused, but Defence Counsel Charles Mnisi says their ballistic expert reached a different conclusion. Pelma Kubani has more.
Advocate Mnisi says one can assume if the lines that run on the scene bullet align with tests, that could be described as a match. Colonel Mangena says they do align. However, Advocate Mnisi says Mangena might have gotten this wrong, and he will demonstrate this as the trial progresses. Mangena says there were sufficient marks to show the similarities between the exhibits and the tests. Pelma Kubani, SABC News, Pretoria.
Authorities have confirmed that the people involved in a bus accident on the Van Rhyns Pass outside Van Rhynsdorp on the west coast are construction workers from Uppington in the Northern Cape. They were on their way to Ceres to build a solar plant when their bus rolled down the mountain slope. Western Cape Mobility Minister Isaac Sileku says 10 people have been confirmed dead, while 12 others are being treated in hospital.
What we know is that the driver lost control of the bus, and unfortunately that's what it led, and then that's why we are standing here. But in terms of the broader and more detail in terms of what has led for the driver to lose control, we don't have those specifics. Probably when the investigation has been concluded, and then it will be able to give us the more details as to why the driver lost control of the bus.
Police are searching for 4 suspects in connection with the hijack and abduction of a Gauteng member of the provincial legislature, Muiponi Mhlongo, in Etwatwa Ekurhuleni. She was rescued unharmed and her vehicle recovered in Davidton. Mhlongo is one of the youngest members of the legislature and the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Education. Gauteng Police spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
It is reported that the victim was accosted by 4 armed suspects who demanded her car and forcefully drove with her. The victim was robbed of her cell phones and later dropped off in an open field unharmed. The car was later recovered in Davidton, abandoned.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is well positioned to be a leader in the green energy and related industries. He's currently in China ahead of the summit of the 9th Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. Ramaphosa says they've also introduced policies to promote the development of the electric vehicle industry in South Africa. Meanwhile, the growing electric car industry in China has led to EU countries raising concerns as they struggle to keep up with technology capacity for renewable energy. Sophie Mukwena has more from Beijing.
We are now at BAIC. This automobile manufacturing plant is where you get all the cars that are powered by electricity, not your normal fuel. The intention here is to ensure that the country moves towards a clean energy.
The top story this hour, former PRASA head of engineering Danelim Timkulu, who was convicted for fraud for faking his qualifications, has been sentenced to an effective 15 years behind bars. The Full Circle continues for SAFM News.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by OUTsurance Essential. Get a quote today by simply SMSing CAR to 43187. OUTsurance Essential is a low-cost insurance for older cars. A 34-year-old woman pays only 373 rand a month for her 2007 white Mazda 2 1.3 Dynamic and gets paid cash so she can choose her own panel beater after an accident. Get the cover you need. Get OUTsurance Essential today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years old and valued at less than 125,000 rand. It's time to switch and save. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Remember that OUTsurance is a licensed FSP and T's and C's do apply.
At Ashupol, we understand the needs of those we serve. We are over 110 years old and we are still here to serve you. Named Best Life Insurer by Forbes, would like to thank you for helping us grow and tell our story into the future. You made us the trusted insurer we are today. SMS serve to 44366 and we'll call you back. Ashupol is an insurer licensed to conduct life insurance business, an authorized financial services provider. FSP 53, T's and C's to apply.
They will all walk onto the pitch with victory on their minds, but the final whistle will reveal who wants it the most, who will display football brilliance. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. TUT Matatanta Ladies FC versus the University of Fort Hare Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 11 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
zongidlalela izingoma zasemandulo. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zothando. Songs from my past keep ringing in my head. Songs that made me laugh, made me sing and play. Songs that make me smile keep ringing in my head. Songs that make me cry, make me feel so alive. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zasemandulo. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zothando. Play them again, play me those songs. I want to dance, dance all night long. Play them again, play me the love songs. I want to fall in love, I'll never be the same. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zasemandulo. Play me those love songs. Zongidlalela izingoma zothando. Play me those love songs. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zasemandulo. Play me those love songs. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zothando. Play me those love songs. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zasemandulo. Play me those love songs. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zothando. Play me those love songs. Oh, zongidlalela izingoma zasemandulo. Play me those love songs.
It is Gloria Bosman coming through, the late, great Gloria Bosman with Play Me a Love Song. And that is how we do it on this fine Tuesday. We're taking things nice and easy today, and we are just easing you and finessing you into the week. And hopefully so far, with just 2 days in, hopefully it is going according to your plans, whatever your plans are. After 2 on a Tuesday, we look at health and wellness conversations, I did say, and we're looking at the seasonal changes and seasonal change conditions. The doctor is in the house, so if you do want to be in conversation, you can give us a shout on 061-410-4107. That's our WhatsApp line, or 086-000-2032. That is the number that you can call us on. Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come right back.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's Elimination Week and the bottom 6 must bake their ultimate cookie and milkshake pairing. It's a match made in heaven, but will they perfect their flavor combinations under pressure? Take part in the weekly viewers competition and stand a chance of winning a classic stand mixer to the value of 10,000 Rand. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Comoros and the Gambia have a huge clash for 90 minutes in the AFCON qualifier. Both nations are optimistic for the significant 3 points. Yet the question remains, who wants it the most? This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Comoros up against the Gambia on Wednesday, 4 September at 5 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Powerball Plus, and you can play the Powerball Plus this evening for an estimated 78 million rand, and of course the Powerball Plus for an estimated 22 million rand. That's rather the Powerball for an estimated 78 million rand, and the Powerball Plus for an estimated 22 million rand this evening. That's a total of 100 million rand in estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots that are waiting to be won, and it's as simple as you buying your tickets in store now or via the nationallottery.co.za, your mobile apps, cell phone banking, or you can simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play, and players must be 18 years or older in order to play, and remember to play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Catching up now with Dr. Eileen Kaba, who's a medical doctor at Kiredi, and they are an incredible resource, by the way, and they can be reached on WhatsApp. But they have a WhatsApp line that's quite interactive. If you have any questions or resource that you require that's medical related, on 060-019-0000. And Dr. Eileen is joining us now because what we do know, Dr. Eileen, is that, well, they say that the reasons for our organisms going into a crisis mode at the change of season are not completely known, but there are suggestions that climatic variations, whether in temperature, humidity, and pressure, and all that stuff actually sends our body into some kind of frenzy. And so we thought we'd bring you on today and firstly, get a better understanding as to what it looks like when we're talking our bodies being in crisis mode, and also just exploring seasonal changes. I hope you're good this afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for making the time. Crisis mode. Some might say, oh, come on, we're exaggerating. But the medical fraternity says that, our organisms and our bodies essentially go into crisis mode at the change of season. Tell us what this looks like and what it entails.
So I think when, other professionals are talking about the crisis mode, so on, it's mostly just the body trying to get used to the new season that we're in. And I think the most noticeable thing, or the thing that I can talk on, is the circadian rhythm, which is basically what regulates our sleep patterns. So as we know, as seasons change, the light, light days, darker nights, and so on, the length of the days changes too. And that's what actually affects, the circadian system. And so a lot of the time people will have difficulty sleeping and so on. And I think that's really where the issue lies, because unfortunately some people's, systems aren't able to get used to these different seasons. And so that's when you have your insomnias and things like that some people struggle with.
Now, wait, give me that term again. I didn't quite catch it. The what rhythm?
The circadian rhythm.
Circadian. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes. So that's our sleep-wake cycle.
Okay, the circadian rhythm, our sleep-wake cycle. All right.
Yes.
Now, when that gets thrown out of balance, as you've alluded to, what potentially then happens in the body, and what kind of risks or symptoms even does that have on a person who sees this kind of rhythmic change?
So I think the main things that we can focus on and that people usually feel has to do with their mental state. And I think the main reason for that is because, like I had said, they have sleep difficulties. And as we know, sleep is actually a really vital part of, our health and our well-being. And so when someone isn't having adequate sleep, that's when you wake up feeling groggy, a lot of people feel tired, weak, anxious. things like that, when the seasons change. And I mean, some studies even show that people can have like gastric or like stomach disorders and things just based on the bacteria and so on in our bodies, and just the way our body is actually functioning based on these seasonal changes. But I mean, everyone is different, so some people have different effects and others don't have those symptoms or effects. So it's very broad mostly, but I think the most common things is just anxiety, irritability, sometimes insomnia for some people, even gastric disorders, just the weakness, and just feeling dull is probably the most common things that some people might face.
Yeah, and when we're talking of this rhythm, and I'll touch on the more common seasonal things that affect ear, nose, and throat in a minute. But when we're talking about the circadian rhythm, right, is there a way, because a lot of people have sort of these drastic symptoms to seasons changing, either from when the winter and the summers, the in-betweener seasons don't really, except for spring, I guess, but it's considered as summer. So we see these drastic changes mainly when we move from one to another. Is there a way for your body to prepare itself for these kinds of changes?
And I think a lot of people aren't going to be happy with this answer.
Oh, okay.
But the sad reality is that, for a lot of the things that we deal with, just our lifestyle, that's the biggest thing. Because unfortunately, having proper nutrition, continuing to be active, practicing good sleep hygiene, so ensuring that you get quality sleep in the evenings and stuff. Those are things that people can do. But like I said, a lot of people won't really like this because even though we preach healthy eating and being active, it's a difficult thing for a lot of people to do. And obviously as well, if we're sort of going into winter now, we can't then only start at the beginning of winter once we have these symptoms and things.
Yeah.
So we try to prevent these things from happening, and by means of, being healthy, eating well, trying to keep active, making sure we get our quality sleep before we hit these seasonal changes so that we sort of aid our bodies into changing appropriately for the season. So those are some of the things that people can do, the easier things. And then for those who are experiencing, these symptoms and they're having difficulty functioning and they're just, really miserable and need some assistance, then those people can then visit, their healthcare professionals. And, in speaking to your healthcare professional, then maybe you can consider going on, certain medications and things to help, depending on what symptoms the person is having.
Let's now talk about, as we get into, I see you love winter clearly because, you're still stuck in winter when the rest of us are moving to summer. Let's talk about the ear, nose, and throat, right? Which is what I think a lot of people, as particularly moving out of winter and getting into spring, summer, tend to suffer with, myself included. Is there a way of, managing that, a way of prepping that, perhaps even something that one can do as these elements sort of calibrate, that we can do to lessen the impact of the environment around us?
So I think this is a very person-dependent, sort of a thing, because with these, seasonal allergies and the ear, nose, and throat things that people are affected by, a lot of the times it's like your runny nose, your dry eyes, itching eyes, and, swollen eyes and things like that, sometimes dry skin, for some people. So when it comes to all of the congestion and the eyes and stuff, it's usually your antihistamines which help, and there's different ones that, affect people in different ways. And then obviously trying to keep up with the fruits and the vitamins and things, fruit and veg, to make sure you're getting all of your vitamins and, your healthy diet and stuff. And then the eye drops, for those who are having allergies of the eyes and the redness and dryness, but also even some home remedies. And I mean, I know a lot of the home remedies aren't really proven or backed up with research, but a lot of people get some relief from things like, for example, if you're steaming with like eucalyptus, because the eucalyptus then opens up, those passageways, the airways, and also helps with like getting rid of the secretions and all of those things. So that's also like an option that people can look at. Some people can even look to just steaming without the eucalyptus. So some people even just having a hot bath, hot shower, sort of helps with just releasing, that congestion. And then for others who have like the painful red eyes and things as well, the eye drops, So I think the main thing that's important is for each person to know exactly what symptoms they have and what things work and don't work. Because a lot of the times, we as doctors can prescribe certain medications that people have tried to use but haven't really gotten a lot of positive effects from them. So it's important for people to also know, what other things kind of work for them and what things don't. But in general, the antihistamines, your vitamins, and then some of these other home remedies like your steaming and things like that. Okay.
The good Dr. Eileen is saying we must literally just power through it. I'm joking. But I guess if you do have some kind of seasonal allergies, at times that's all really you can do is to just power through it and wait for the rains to come through and make a difference. For anybody that is seeking to engage you guys at Kiredi, because you'll do a lot of work, particularly in communities. I know that you have the WhatsApp line on 060-019-0000. Just by way of a reminder, what are some of the services and resource that you provide or information that you share with community and through the line?
So on we're on all the social media platforms, and we have a lot of health promotion videos and things where, we're talking to people about some of these things. Interestingly enough, actually, this month sometime, there will be a video posted about seasonal allergies. So people can actually just go and, look out on our social media pages, Instagram, TikTok, for that video that will be posted. And then, like you mentioned, the WhatsApp line. And then also, if people look on our website, the Kiredi website, there's schedules, and where you'll see where the mobile clinics go on specific days, so where it will be in your community. Unfortunately, for now, the only mobile clinics that are still functional are those in the Eastern Cape. And so people who are in the Eastern Cape can then look on the schedules to see where the mobile clinic can be and where they can maybe find some of our services. We do everything from, screening, hypertension, diabetes. We do HIV tests, a lot of sexual reproductive health, talks and tests as well. And, we can also just assist with anything, really. And if we can't assist, then we'll assist with getting people to the necessary places where they can actually get some assistance.
Wonderful stuff. Dr. Eileen Kaba, thank you so much for the time. 2:30, Madupi is standing by.
Thank you very much, Sister Bridge. Good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, the Gauteng Health Department has managed to reduce medico-legal claims from 18 billion to 11 billion rand. The ANC Youth League has hit back at SACP General Secretary Solima Paila over his remarks regarding the structure of the Government of National Unity. And former PRASA Head of Engineering Daniel Mtimkulu, who was convicted for fraud for faking his qualifications, has been sentenced to an effective 15 years behind bars. And those are your headlines. A full news update coming up at 3.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
All right, as we move along in conversation, and I don't know if I also detected a bit of a seasonal suffering from Medupi as well. It does get, it gets a bit much, it's irritating, it's painful, when just your ear, nose and throat are doing the most and you keep looking to the skies hoping that it will rain, and it just does not rain, just to clear out all of that pollen and all of that dust that's in the air. Because you can take every kind of medication at times and it just does absolutely nothing. And we all have a little bit of something, as you heard from the good doctor. Some people's rhythms go entirely off as well during the change of season. Right now, though, we're getting into a conversation with DKMS, and they are an international non-profit organization. We're catching up with Palisa Mukomele, who is the head of community engagement and communications at DKMS Africa. And she's going to tell us more about the organization that's dedicated to the fight against blood cancer and blood disorders. How are you doing this afternoon, Palisa? I hope you're good.
I'm good, thank you. I hope you're good as well, and hi to the listeners.
I'm great, thank you. Perhaps let's start with some context as to DKMS Africa.
So DKMS is a non-profit organization. We exist in 7 different countries across the world, and we are dedicated to the fight against blood cancer and blood disorders. We basically register donors who would be able to donate their stem cells to patients or people who need a stem cell transplant in order to fight blood cancer or blood disorder.
Mm-hmm. And by way of, just maybe perhaps the process of how you go about finding donors or recruiting donors and then registering donors, and then we'll get into maybe even some of the screening, if screening is involved in such a process.
So it all starts with if you are at a corporate or a university or college, you will meet one of our donor recruiters. We have quite an extensive team that is in Johannesburg, KZN and Cape Town, the Western Cape, but we work nationally. And it starts with a swab. So you swab the inside of your cheek or your mouth, and then you will give it back to one of our representatives and fill out a form, and then you are typed, which means that basically we get your genetic typing, right? And this is a special code that you have. But the amazing thing is when there's a patient who matches your genetic typing, whom we call your genetic twin, that's only when the screening takes place in terms of trying to now get the stem cells out of your body. But yeah, we'll get into that a bit later.
Okay. And then let's talk maybe about currently the number of registered DKMS donors that you roughly have on your database, and ideally where that number should be.
So we are almost a historic mark of 100,000 donors in South Africa. This may not seem like a lot considering our population size, but it's historic in the sense that no other registry has recorded these many donors in our country. And what's also significant about it is that globally, Black people, people who are not Caucasian, struggle to find matching donors. Our registry is extremely diverse. We have over 55% of the registry as people who belong to the Black, Colored, Indian, and Asian populations in South Africa. This is extremely significant. It speaks to the awareness drives that we have. We've had educating, our people, creating opportunities in churches, in corporates, in universities, where we've been invited to. And I think also putting a face to blood cancer. A lot of people didn't think that, or don't think that someone who looks like them, especially with no history of cancer or blood cancer, can get blood cancer. So I think this is really kind of a testament of how far we've come as an organization and how we've really tried to match our education to our own country and to use what we're best at, which is to just multiply ourselves and to get as many community members involved in our mission in order to change this, to change the face of this registry and to change the makeup of this registry so that no patient is not afforded the chance of having a stem cell donor matched for them.
Yeah.
Still a long way to go, but it really is significant, and we're seeing the changes already.
I mean, listen, I'm me myself, I'm a bit impressed, especially by the diversity in the makeup, because there's often a reluctance, especially from us people of color, to go through and donate anything, even something as simple as blood stem cells always seems to just present us an issue. Let's also then, perhaps as we wind down the conversation, for anybody that wants to get involved, I mean, you did say you have quite the healthy footprint nationwide, and they can contact one of your consultants. Are there any things that preclude people, just so we can get the discomfort of that out of the way?
Yes. So there are some illnesses that preclude people or conditions, and I would recommend that anyone who's interested in signing up to becoming a stem cell donor, that they visit our website. We have quite a lengthy list, but I would say that people should not be deterred by it. By that, just check to make sure. We also do extensive testing if you have been identified as a donor. Okay. And this is great because it's a thorough medical check, which people don't generally get. So you kind of, we give it to you just to make sure that you're healthy. But you do need to be between the ages of 17 and 55 years old and in general good health.
Awesome stuff. We appreciate the time with you this afternoon, Palisa. That was Palisa Mokumele, who is the head of community engagement and communications at DKMS Africa. And of course, you can find them online if you have an interest to get yourself on that stem cell donor registry. And it seems pretty simple enough. And who knows, they probably throw in a biscuit at the end of it all for all of your good deed for the day. Let's take a quick pause here, and then we come back on the other side.
Only the final whistle can reveal who are the real football kings of East Africa. Neighbors won't get along during the East African Derby. This is the Total Energies 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Witness the beauty of African football. Tanzania takes on Ethiopia on Wednesday, 4 September at 6 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Play Powerball for an estimated 78 million rand, and of course Powerball Plus for an estimated 22 million rand tonight, this Tuesday. That's right, it's 100 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots that are waiting to be won. And you can simply buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda push or play, and remember that players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
Because Mos, when you go and donate blood, that you are oftentimes given a cookie, 2 cookies and half a glass of juice for you just to get that energy back up. So I always say, some of us go do it for exactly that, a little bit of our sugar rush for the day. So stem cell, it's a similar type of withdrawal. By the way, they are withdrawing blood and then they get the stem cells from there. So it's a similar kind of process if you've gone for blood donation. If you're wondering, you get to sit, recline back for a couple of minutes and just, woosa and relax, and needles go up and the blood drawing goes out, and then you get your 2 cookies and a glass of orange juice, and you've done your good for the day. It's just gone 20 to 3 o'clock. We are now talking to Ron Gunene, who's the trustee of the National Children's Theatre, on the National Children's Theatre Board, rather. And they are doing something spectacular. In fact, they are teaming up with Disney to bring you The Lion King Jr., and it's coming to Gauteng, and it should be exciting. How are you doing, Ron? You good?
It's such a great honor to be talking to you and your listeners regarding this exciting project that we are doing for the kids, and
exciting times, because the Lion King title is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and it's really just something to behold what this story has done over 3 decades. And now you guys have decided to celebrate it in your own unique way, but true to what exactly the production is.
Yes, so the production is going to be amazing. It's going to be made of 50 kids, under from 13 and under, and it's really adapted for those young audience, and it's I call that impactful theater, because for the first time we're going to be seeing, this form of a story, this timeless, endless story of Simba's rite of passage being depicted or presented by the kids with innocent eyes. So that's going to be amazing.
And weirdly enough, or should I be using the word ironically enough, because it is a children's story, essentially the target market are kids.
Yes, that's right.
And this is the first time, at least on South African soil, that it's going to be presented by a very young cast.
Yes, and I must tell you that, when Lion King became a smash hit in 1994 as it was released, we started doing outreach in schools and everywhere in the United States, because Disney has been doing this for many, many, many years. And I must tell you, I would always think about, this would be great if it's happening, if it can happen to South Africa, and voila, we're here now. So that's great.
And voila, indeed. Before we even get to what folks can anticipate when they take their children to watch this production, let's talk about the impact, for instance, the impact of the partnership, on local theatre, and particularly for children's theatre. What it does to children's theatre, bringing a production of such critical and international acclaim to South African shores.
Yes, maybe let me just backtrack a little bit. When we do casting with the likes of Mr. Dumandlovu and some of our casting, experts from Disney, usually we struggle to get talent in Gauteng. We mainly the rich provider of talent. It's KZN. I don't know how that happens, but through statistics we determine that that's what's happening. So to do this and to cultivate that theatrical, impactful theater from that young age, we hope that's going to change things, and we hope now that from Gauteng we can also go to other provinces as well. So this is going to become a life changer, a paradigm shift, and it also makes the kids, who really, really, who are passionate to follow this line of work, that now things becomes readily available for them to work with a Walt Disney Company who's been doing this for over 90 years. So it becomes that much of an exciting opportunity for them. And I feel that the timing is impeccable because that's also a celebration of our freedom at the same time.
Absolutely. You've also, in this partnership with Disney and the National Children's Theatre, you guys also are rolling out a program with 5 Johannesburg primary schools. What does that program speak to?
That program is going to be speaking to, because we have intermediate teachers who have no idea what theater is all about. And especially in a country like South Africa where entertainment is treated as an extracurricular situation, so we get a chance to work with those teachers so that they understand, because the themes that comes from Lion King are also themes that are congruent to some of the subject matters that they study in school: history, human trafficking, all those things, These are some of the themes that, are from the show. So teaching the kids using that, it becomes more exciting rather than the old archaic way of being didactic, because that makes the lessons very boring. And as a result of that, you find kids not getting any interest, and some even flunking out because they don't have any added, interest in it.
Listen, it sounds like it's ticking all the boxes right now. And now let me get to this part, because as you said, yourselves and the team on the producing side of this piece, including the legendary executive producer Duma Ndlovu,
yes.
You see a lot of talent coming from KZN. I'm a KZN girl and know that the talent runs in our oceans.
Yeah.
It runs in our oceans.
I like that. I'm gonna cite that. It runs from the my goodness.
Yeah, it really does.
Yes.
But I wonder, when it comes to casting little ones, 13 and below, maybe I should even ask, and I don't know if casting is completed already.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, because I was going to ask what's the youngest casting member we have. But when it comes to casting little ones, it must be an interesting skill set that producers are looking for, but also mixed in with the whimsy of childhood personality, and being conscious as well that you're dealing with delicate little egos here that haven't quite forged that hard exterior of adult thespians.
Yeah, I must say, after a while I did join Disney as we were casting and everything. And I must tell you, the most difficult casting would be that same age group, because they don't know if they've gotten the part or they haven't gotten the part. And for them, they are very thin skinned, because, rejection, all kids want to be accepted, So they see that as a rejection. And even if I don't care how much you tell them that, no, it's not, you'll get your 10 next time, don't worry, and all that. So I saw a lot of our young Nalas, especially girls, oh my God, crying so it can become delicate, but it's also, these are the, it's a rite of passage. This is when they have to learn how to deal with life. Because another thing that's very interesting with a show that like Lion King, it introduces a very serious and very painful subject matter, and the matter of death, because some of them see the death of Mufasa.
Yeah.
So that's the first time they hear about this thing, death, and what it does, because they can see, oh my God, this person is no longer, the person is lifeless. So it's also them also learning also in real life some of the hard lessons that they're going to find in life, because sometimes they're going to be accepted. So it's a yin-yang kind of situation at the same time.
Absolutely. Now, for the most exciting part, a lot of people are very excited about everything that's happening around Lion King this year, leading into next year. We had Lebu M in studio just last month, reflecting on the journey and the production. And I know that there's now the sort of the 4D animated version of Lion King, the movie that's coming out, and it's come out in certain territories. We also now are looking forward to the kids' theatre production with the National Children's Theatre. And when is this going to be staged? Because mom, dads, and guardians now have to budget themselves so that they know what are they watching, when are they watching?
Yeah, the 4D movie will be in theaters December 20th. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This what we're talking about. We are resuming from the 9th of November.
Okay.
So there's gonna be stages. Hopefully by September, that's when we'll choose the cast of 50 young people. And start really seriously rehearsing so that we are ready for the opening on the 9th of November.
When we talk 9th of November, we're talking 9th November 2024.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I mean, you're making it sound like it's
because
so far
the
away.
rehearsal time is normally Broadway. It's normally 6 weeks. So we wanted to also, use that time frame, so that at least, everybody knows that you either get it or you don't get it.
No ways, Ron. 6 weeks.
Yep, everywhere. So Broadway, everywhere. 6 weeks is the standard. Yeah.
Even children's Broadway.
Even children's Broadway. Actually, you know what's funny though?
Yeah.
Sometimes they are much more smarter than us. Their minds
really
are like
are.
sponges. Yeah. Because, I used to work with the young Nalas and young Simbas. And I would be surprised, how they can, master their lines, master their, the staging quick than adults.
No, that's the truth. Listen, I think we take for granted, little children and how they can just, as you say, the mastery that they hold for certain things,
God,
right?
Amazing. They always amazing. I mean, so brilliant. Sometimes I wonder, as an adult, you wonder, oh my God, what happened to my mind?
Well, listen, we know what happens to our minds, okay? Can't compare the minds of 40-something-year-old millennials to the minds of these little Gen Alphas that are coming through to audition for this one. But how exciting! And once you've got your main cast in order and everyone sorted, I'm going to just put this note out live that perhaps we'll try and sneak them into studio one of the afternoons and just have a conversation with them to see how they're finding the journey. And of course, the excitement around opening night and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and I'm so happy because for the first time, this becomes actually a family affair because, when they're on stage, their parents have to be there, their extended families have to be there. And maybe it's now a critical time in our culture as South Africans to also learn to accept, the passion of these kids. If they want to become actors, don't tell them, oh, no, become a doctor, because we do have success stories now, the likes of you, Masikela, Miriam Makeba, the Lebus, the John Carneys, who have made a lot of money from this industry, creative industry. So it's time that we also change the mindset, and I think that's another impact that I feel that this will do as well,
Absolutely. And to your point about money, I guess, as in with every industry, there's the perception that certain industries are guaranteed, but we know many are doctors who have not found the kind of success that their counterparts have found. And it just speaks to timing on the one hand, understanding various elements that come into play, your own focus and dedication. And I think, as you say, these kids are getting in young and learning certain life principles at a very early age. And to be an artist, a working artist, an artist that can sustain a career for many decades, sometimes it takes 3 times more the resilience of any other profession, 3 times more the dedication of any other profession. I think creatives are the most underrated hard workers of any society.
That's right. I mean, look at the likes of the Michael Jackson, who started from the age of 5.
Yeah.
So, and at some point, you also even sacrifice your life. So, they become sacrificial lambs. But one thing amazing, though, they become our serious cultural ambassadors. I mean, Lady Smith, Black Mamba. I mean, look at Miriam. Miriam used to go to the UN to fight for us when we didn't even have a voice. Nobody at a time when nobody was there. Lele Kumalo with Sarafina, would go all over in the news and everything, talking about what was going on in South Africa back in the day during apartheid. So at the same time, these people, they sacrifice their life, but they also become our amazing cultural ambassadors as well.
Absolutely. Ron Kunene, thank you so much for the time today. And he's a trustee at the National Children's Theatre. And of course, that production is coming at the end of the year, The Lion King Jr., as presented by the National Children's Theatre. Looking forward to this. It's going to be a great one indeed. And once they confirm who gets to play Simba, Mufasa, Lala, and all those incredible main characters we're so used to, I would love to get one or two of them in studio. Let's take a quick pause here.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.6 FM in King Williamstown. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We're about to wrap up the show. And as we wrap up the show, in our last couple of moments, I hope that it's been a good afternoon for you. Oh, my mind was going because I anytime an artist talks about, or someone that is creative adjacent, talks about creatives and the ambassadorial role that they play in world politics, it always gets me thinking around the Senegalese president of independence, and he was President Senghor, who was a teacher and who was a poet in his own right, and then got into politics. And this is a story I learned about visiting Dakar, Senegal in 2019, and it impressed me completely. And he believed so much, and I think I've told it on this very show. He believed so much in just the advocacy of creatives and artists, artists of all kinds of disciplines. And I guess because he was an artist himself, being a poet, and then obviously being a scholar, a teacher, and ultimately a politician, he believed so much in artists and creatives that he'd often send the envoy of creatives beforehand, before he ever visited any country on an official visit, just as a way of introducing who the people of Senegal are to whatever country he was visiting. And that was the importance that he weighted on creatives. And I think, a lot more leaders globally, including our own, need to start weighting creatives at that degree. I'm not saying they need to go out, and sort of precede the president at all of his presidential visits, but just to give them the due and rightful respect for the contributions that they make to society, and the contributions that they make to discourse and conversation around humanity. And very important. And their ability to enter spaces, as you heard Ron reflecting back on some of our greats, their ability to enter spaces at times when perhaps even the world leaders cannot enter those spaces, or even open doors to conversations that might seem a little bit tricky and polarizing, when presented by particular folks of political stature. Sometimes you just usher in the creative and the artists, and they can open up that can of dialogue or that can of worms for you and have that conversation. And we found out just last week on this show, when we were having our wrap-up conversation for Women's Month, that I'm an advocate for arts and culture. So for me, it's not STEM, it's STEAM, STEAM. And then now we hear from Scienza that they've added an I, so now it's a STEAMy for innovation. On that note, we are out of here, making way for Ashraf to come through and ride with you for the rest of the afternoon. We thank you so much for taking the time to be in conversation with us. We'll see you tomorrow on The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
top stories at 3 o'clock. A minister speaks on recent extortion incidents and a former PRASA boss sentenced for fraud. A very good afternoon. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has told the National Assembly how acts of extortion around the country have angered communities. He was outlining the actions taken by the police to deal with the threat posed by those committing acts of extortion in the country. Mchunu says 73% of crimes committed, including extortion, generally happen in the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, Gauteng and KZN.
Extortions have been emerging over time and has now reached levels where all communities in our country beyond the 4 provinces indicated above have become very angry, bitter, and agitated. Pain has gone very deep. The mood expressed in communities all around the country is also reflective of statements that have been made in the House unanimously against these crimes in the short past.
Gauteng Health has managed to reduce medical legal claims from 18 billion to 11 billion rand. This is contained in the department's first quarter report for the 2024-25